I'm Dan Nolan. I am running also for Post 6. I'm Jason's opponent in the race. First, I'd like to say a couple things. I appreciate that there are at least two people that stepped up to do this. The school board is not it's a thankless job. It's not paid. You get beat up pretty good. I think Kim would tell you that. There's no fun in getting beat up. But at the end of the day, Jason stepped up, put his name out there the same way I did, and I appreciate that from you, Jason. We see things a little bit differently, but you're going to hear me say a lot of the same things Jason just said, because the problems, if you're being honest, are very similar. The problems are the problems. You can't slide them under the rug. So, a little bit about me. I went to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. I worked my way through college. I moved here in 1994. Both my daughters are in or have been in the school system. I have a daughter at North Paulding High School. I lived in the Bentwater community from '94. Moved to the Bentwater community in 2005. Moved to Georgia in '94. I served on the Bentwater HOA. I was their president for 4 or 5 years. I took that community over when it was in a pretty big fiscal mess. We had a lot of issues in that community. It's big. There's 1,600 homes in there. It's got a big budget, a lot of amenities, and when I took over, we needed new pool surface, we needed new playgrounds, we needed all kinds of things for the community, and I was able to get a board that was very dysfunctional at that point, put them together, and get them to operate as a cohesive unit, and put together a budget that worked for the community without raising their dues. A lot of this is the same thing that we're seeing on a much bigger level, but we were able to do things because we used common sense approach to how we spend our money. And I will say that going through and having to balance a budget on a nonprofit is not an easy thing to do at any level. We were successful at that. Bentwater's in a much better place. Their reserve funds are funded for years to come now, and I can't take complete credit for that because there were a board of people that did that, but at the end of the day, that's an example of a place that I've worked in the community. I serve on the Governor's Town Club board now, and that is a mess, and we're working to straighten that out. I don't know how many of y'all know about that community, but it's been pretty well doomed from the beginning, and we're working through it. In 2008, in 1998, I started Tents Unlimited in Marietta, Georgia. Up until 2016, I grew Tents Unlimited into 6 or 7 companies, vertically integrated, and I sold those to a private equity group last February, or in February 2016. I'm still a partner in that group. We have locations in 7 states, and we employ over 400 people. I took my proceeds from that and partnered with Bert and Christina Brown at Governor's Gun Club to bring the new facility online in Kennesaw, and it is the country's largest indoor shooting sport facility, state-of-the-art, membership-based, and it's a really great place, but it's providing 100 jobs right now. So I've been in the business of creating jobs and balancing budgets for a long time, and I have a pretty good idea of how to dig in and figure things out at a micro level to make sure that we're spending dollars the right way. The 4 pillars of my campaign have been common sense leadership, and as a board member on a school board, I don't believe that it's my place to step out of my lane. This board is governed by a very specific set of rules. You go through that training, you live by that training, you have a fiduciary responsibility to stand by that training. So as one person on the board, you can bring ideas and you can do all the things that you want to do, but you've got to convince 6 other people to buy into what you're selling. And that's what I'm good at. I'm good at sitting down with people and helping get to a compromise about how to make common sense, rational ideas come to reality with no money to spend in a lot of cases. So I believe you have to hire well and support your superintendent. I think we've done that. I think we have an excellent superintendent in Dr. Otai. I know that that's a controversial statement to some folks in this room, but I think Brian's come through the program and he knows the system well. I do believe that Brian needs some help. I believe Brian needs to have some support in areas to help make better decisions about where we've spent dollars in the system. But I will say to you that Steve Barnett, our CFO of the county, is probably as good as I've seen anywhere. That guy has a very good understanding of what's going on, and he deals with problems in a very head-on, common sense direction. I'm a fiscal conservative. I will always work to spend wise, and I want everybody to know that I hear us talk about efficiency in the school system. I don't know if you know, but we are definitely in the top 10% of efficiency in the school systems statewide. That's a third-party certification. That's not something that the school system stands up and says, hey, we rated ourselves. There's an independent third body out there that comes in and rates every school system. And we spend our dollars pretty wisely in the county, for the most part. I will also address error mark. I know error mark is a hot button in the school system. I talked to a couple school board members, and there are people that are on both sides of that equation. Ms. Cobb definitely is on one side, and Dr. Curl is definitely on the other side, or has been. So what I did was, being that I have a gun club over in Hiram, I went to my member list and figured out, because I know where they work, I went and figured out who works in the school system. And I picked up the phone and called a couple of my members who are food service workers. And the response that I got when I got to go visit them was shocking. They don't have the supplies they need to clean the schools. They don't have the personnel they need to clean the schools. Error mark is not hitting the mark at this point with that program. Now, I am a big proponent of third party and outsourcing. I think it works great, but when you do it, you have to hold your vendor accountable. I don't think we've done a good job of holding that vendor accountable. I will work to make sure that the superintendent holds that vendor completely accountable. I was loud about the company who controlled our climate control. I talked to two teachers at Poole Elementary. They were very unhappy with the fact that their room was hot. They couldn't get education done because they're either too cold or too hot. We can't have students in our school system too cold or too hot. We can't have them. I talked to Greta Leather. She told me that her daughter won't go to the bathroom at her school because the bathrooms are so poorly maintained. That's not good. Can't have that. The evidence supports what Greta's saying. Maybe not to the level that Greta's put it out there, but I'll be honest with you. If it's not getting done, it's got to be corrected. No question about it. And we can't spend dollars from the county on it if it's not corrected. And I would be an advocate of holding payment until they did get it corrected. I don't know what our contract allows us, but I would do that. I'm an advocate for public education. I will tell everybody in this room that I am, and I know this is probably not going to be a popular statement. I'm not a big advocate of school vouchers for Paulding County. Okay? School vouchers for Paulding County are a bad idea. They're going to take dollars out of the school system and further burden the taxpayers. I believe we have a great program with the Georgia Income Education Credit. I think that works well for families who want to deal with their children's education in a logical manner from a faith-based perspective, if that's what they want to do, or homeschool them. And I'm really happy to see that Senator Ted Cruz introduced using 529s at the elementary, middle school, and high school level, and not just at the college level. I think that is a very common sense approach to using your savings dollars for your children's education. And if y'all don't know about that, you should read about it. It's a great program. I want everything that every other parent wants. So I have a kid in schools. I want great schools that are clean, safe, and I want them to be welcomed at school, and I want them to have an environment that they can learn in. I would love to reduce class sizes at North Paulding High School. I would love to have more technology and keep up with this generation's current needs. And I would love to lock every door and put metal detectors in front of every school and make every single person walk through them and make sure that when you walk into that school, you're safe. I just don't know how to pay for all that. That's my problem. My problem is if you reduce, and I did the math, one student, one person, reduce class size by one countywide, $1 million. Y'all fact check me. I'm sure somebody in this room will, but it'll cost $1 million to do that. We have an issue. The budget for this year's been approved with no millage rate increase. We have an 8.8% increase in the tax digest this year. That means everybody's going to pay a little bit more. 3.2 is going. That's not because somebody raised the millage rate. That's not because I'm advocating raising your taxes. It's because home assessments went up existing home assessments went up 3.2% this year. That's a fact. That's about $40 on average to just about everybody in the county. The other issue we have, the rest of that 8.8% number is new construction, and the vast majority of that new construction are homes. Now the problem that we have in Paulding County is 2.8 kids per home. Our budget's built on 2 kids per home. So we're essentially 1 kid in the hole straight out of the gates, 33% upside down based on how we tax for the school system in this county. Our budget is number 153 out of 180. We have the 153 smallest budget in the state and the 13th largest school district. Those numbers are very, very inverse. It's tough to operate and do what we need to do in this county when the numbers are that disparate. I will tell you, I am not a fan of raising anyone's taxes. I don't want to pay anymore. My tax bill was over $12,000 in the county last year. That's enough. What I do want to do is go back through. I've listened to Jeff Fuller and Kim and a couple other people that are sitting on the board now that I would be working with, bring some common sense solutions to the table to look at how we're spending some of these dollars in the system. You asked me to get you some figures. I have them. I don't have enough time to go through them, but I'm going to hand this to you before I leave. I broke down what we spend per pupil and gave you a roadmap to how to find that information. One thing I want to say though, guys, my feeling is overall, Paulding County does an excellent job with their school system with the resources that they have. We're addressing the technology issue this year. We're spending a lot more money on our technology to upgrade that technology. We've upgraded our buses. Some of these things are non-negotiables. You cannot put your children in a bus that is unsafe. The margin for error when you're there 2 times a day is much greater. We're making hard choices every day, and then the efficiency rating of the state's telling you that your board and your school board or your district office management are making really good fiscal decisions. Are there places in that budget that we could probably work on it and deal with the situation differently? Absolutely. Being a problem solver is what I do. I'd love to get in there and be able to deal with that on the micro level when the time comes. But for me to stand here and tell you that I can fix it all, it's going to take 7 people moving in the same direction to fix it all. No way one person is going to fix it all. Just not possible. And if you can't align 7 people together to move in the right direction and get them on board with our commissioners, put a comprehensive program together, which we have done. Everybody needs to know. I've heard that we need to have plans for this and this. If you go and spend some time at the school board, go to meetings, you will learn an unbelievable amount of information. There's a 5-year facilities plan. They know that the overcrowding is going to happen. They have a plan to deal with it. It's not going to be popular because it's going to include redistricting first, because we cannot build a new school until we fill our old schools up. That's the facts. So we either going to have to get creative about how we build that new school up in the north sector, or we're going to have to do some redistricting, which won't affect Seven Hills the way I think some people thinks it will. I think all they had to do is unring the bell that they rang when we put the students in north to begin with, and shift those students that are west of Seven Hills back over to East Paulding High School, and you solve a lot of that problem straight out of the gates. I'll wrap up. It's going to take somebody who's willing to compromise with people who don't agree with you on everything to get this job done. We're not going to agree on everything. I don't expect people to agree with me on everything. I hope I can influence people to a compromising position to make the best dollar spending decisions for the taxpayers of this county, and do that in an open, honest way. Listen to what they have to say at the polls when they vote, and execute that vote. That is one thing that I will promise you. If the taxpayers vote for it, no matter how I feel about it, I will support it, because the vote is what got me elected, and that is my promise to you. The other thing, if I'm elected to the school board, I will not take a dime for travel, for training, or anything. I'll pay my whole freight. I'll donate every cent that comes to me back to the school board. You'll have somebody who's carrying his own. I don't want to be accountable for anything. I want to make sure that, by golly, when I go out on the dime of the county, that I'm doing the most fiscally responsible thing. And the way I know to do that is pay my own bill, and then I don't have to worry about it. So I'd love to have your vote. I hope, and I also want to apologize for one other thing. That debate in the first part of the race, I had a conflict. I signed a letter. We all make a mistake every once in a while, okay? I didn't handle that the way I should have handled it. I should have picked up the phone and been a little bit more direct, but I was off put because I didn't feel like people tried to get to me. People got to me or tried to get to me in the right way. That wasn't a way to handle it. And I hope you guys understand that was not a slight to any of the leadership of this party in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So thank you very much. I appreciate you listening to me. I look for your vote if you would be so kind as to allow me to have it. Thank you.